That was DJ Snake and Aluna George with You Know What I Like. We're live from South by Southwest Sydney at the ICC. I'm Elena and I'm joined here by Joanna. How are you?
Oh, hi. You very well, and you?
And me. And today we're here with Dr. Hayley North. So uncertainty has become part of our everyday life, but while our world keeps changing, our brains are still wired for safety and predictability. So how do we stay calm, focused, and resilient when everything around us feels uncertain? Joining us is Dr. Hayley North, neuroscientist and founder of Understand Your Brain.
Yeah. You just had your panel. How was that?
Yeah, thanks for having me. So I just did my 1 hour talk all about uncertainty and the brain and how the brain has a bit of like a paradoxical response to change and uncertainty. So I discussed all of that and then some strategies. So happy to share some of the tips that I discussed in that session as well with you for the radio station.
What would be the first tip that you would share with us?
Yeah, so there's so much. I think the first thing is understanding what's happening in our brains when we are faced with uncertainty. So at the moment, AI is changing everything. People might be studying something and then wondering, is this going to be totally obsolete, like by the time I finish my studies? So that can be really stressful for us. And the reason why that is the brain is a little bit like a prediction machine. So how the brain works is it's constantly scanning the environment, trying to understand what's happening and then predict what's happening next. And when it can't do that, like in uncertain times, there's so much change happening, it kind of sounds the alarm for stress. So then we become quite stressed. And that can be okay. Like it can be helpful and it's also very natural. So don't freak out if that's you and you're like, oh no, because it is really normal. That's like what our brains are wired to do. But on the other hand, our brains are also designed with neuroplasticity, which means that the brain can change and adapt. And our brain cells, the neurons, are actually forming new connections with each other all the time. So even when you might have to do something you've never done before because everything's changing and everything's uncertain, you will adapt even if it feels like you can't do it the very first time because those pathways in your brain haven't formed yet. But the more you do something, the easier it becomes over time and the more you adapt. So yeah, that's kind of built into the brain.
And how we can help ourselves to be easier. Some situation which is like tricky for us or not so pleasant. How we can help us and how we can maybe like prepare our brain for some situation which could be stressful.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So it's all about resilience. So resilience is our ability to like withstand and recover from difficulties, like those difficult situations you were just talking about. So there's a few things we can do when we're looking after our brain that make our brain more resilient to those difficult scenarios. So one of them is exercise. So if we exercise, it's not only taking care of our physical body, but the brain as well. And there's so many reasons for that. So one of them is the blood vessels in our brain get strengthened and help with blood flow to our brain so that it's like able to function really well. So that can generally help us like with our general brain health, which makes us more resilient. But it also exercise can help with stress as well. So especially doing like moderate cardio type exercises like walking, swimming, just jogging, not like sprinting or anything high intensity. So the moderate intensity exercises, they help reduce stress. So that can help you stay resilient if you know like, okay, today is just going to be full of challenges. Yeah, just kind of sticking with that originally can help build resilience. There's other things as well that help with resilience if you want me to go into it. Sleep is a really, really big one. So making sure you've had a good night's sleep will enable you to tackle a lot more challenges and difficulties that you have throughout the day. And then especially if you have to learn a lot of new things, that sleep at night helps actually form the memories. So a lot of our memories are kind of, we call it consolidated or actually formed while we're sleeping.
It's really interesting because actually with like the exercise thing as well, something I kind of hear very often that my peers get told is like, oh, just exercise, I'll fix everything. So like, what would you tell these people that like that have that kind of mentality around doing exercise? Like, what would you tell them? And like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I think it's like it's not going to cure everything. Like it's not going to fix all of your problems, but it just helps build resilience to different things. So, and especially like the key is not just like trying to challenge yourself with something you think is unrealistic, but just starting small and finding a type of exercise that you actually like. Like I go to this thing where I dance in the dark for an hour a week, and you just like in a pitch black room and dance like a maniac because I find that fun. And that doesn't feel like exercise for me, even though it is really good cardio. And it helps me release stress and all of that. So just like find something that you find enjoyable just to start with, instead of like being like, oh, I've got to go to the gym for an hour, because then you're less likely to actually do it. So it's just like finding something fun, like even going for a hike on the weekend, like that counts, and like building the habits around it is going to be a lot easier.
Yeah, so like keeping it small, realistic, and fun, right? Like,
Exactly.
I love that.
And if some situation or some moment it's really stressful, what we can do like in that exactly moment to like just give us little credit or like some time to relax and help us our brain to work normal.
Yeah, so there's a few things if you're in that, like we'd call it like an acute stress state. So like you're very stressed right as it's happening. There's a breathing exercise you can do which helps switch you from like a stress state, we call it a sympathetic nervous system, into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is like our rest state. And the trick is to do longer exhales than inhales. So you like breathe in for 4, 2, 3, 4, and breathe out for 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then you just repeat that even for like a minute or two. And that actually helps switch your whole body and your mind into a calm state instead of a stress state. And when I first heard like, oh, just breathe, that's going to help, I was a bit skeptical, but there is actually some science behind it. So, your brain is always monitoring things like oxygen and carbon dioxide levels and the amount of pressure that your lungs are putting on your heart and trying to balance everything out. So the longer exhales changes some of those levels like oxygen, carbon dioxide, and it will then like try and counteract that by switching you into the calm state. So it's a really, really handy trick.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for being here and for sitting with us today. Up next, we have Chapel Roan with Pink Pony Club here on TAFE Radio.
Come on, guys.